Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. The day after edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. 44 plus 1 begins today with the sun back out. Hopefully some melting happening. I was kidding with my wife this morning looking at the forecast. Like, it's unnatural to have a week where we don't have a blizzard forecasted. I probably should shut my mouth on that because the last month we've had at least one a week. So it's a little different when we don't see that on the, at least on the forecast for the next few days. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our show on a Tuesday morning. Bright and blue, lots going on today as we get set for tonight. The NCAA basketball tournament officially begins with the first four. The games to be played in Dayton as the field will go. We start with 68. We'll be down to 66 at the end of the night, and then to 64 come Wednesday night. We inch closer to the start of the State B out in Bismarck. We'll again check in on that tournament today. The Minnesota Girls State Basketball Tournament begins tomorrow in the Twin Cities. We'll have one local team that has not been there in 3 decades. We'll tell you about that coming up on our show today. The Bison women know who they're going to play in the WNIT. It will not be at home. They are heading out to the West Coast. As you saw the story yesterday, the Bison will battle the University of Oregon in the WNIT. We'll discuss that coming up on our show later today. That's a Friday 9 o'clock start, so you got to stay up a little bit late to check out the Bison game coming up on Tuesday. We got plenty of NFL chat today as well as we near the start of the new league year. That's tomorrow. There are deals happening. The Minnesota Vikings have been fairly active, either with players that they are not re-signing. They've added a couple. And we are still waiting word on what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. The Jets have made a couple of moves, I think, to entice him. But there are reports out there that the deal is done. Others saying that the two teams haven't even discussed who to deal. So take that for what it's worth here, folks, on what you're trying to filter through and disseminate on how this is going to go. But as we sit here on Tuesday morning at 9:03 Central Time, nothing has happened yet. Could happen during our show, which would make things a heck of a lot more lively, even though we're going to be as lively as possible. But we will monitor that as we go along. Let's begin, as we always do, with our highlights of the night. And we'll start with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who played last night in Atlanta against the Hawks, team that's at the bottom of the Eastern Conference playoff standings, means a return home for Anthony Edwards back to Georgia, and boy, he was ready to go last night. Taking off for flight here with a nice throwdown. Wolves build an 11-point lead. They got up 15 here late in the first half. Nice step through and finish there. I mean, when Ant's on like this, Wolves are a tough team to beat. Drive, finish to Rudy Gobert. The Wolves were up 76 to 52 at halftime. Up 24. This game was theoretically over. Third quarter, Edwards dunked. The Wolves got up by so much that actually they pulled the starters as they were up 24 at one point. The Hawks, though, came back, forced the Wolves starters to come back in. You see Edwards with a fadeaway jump shot there. Kyle Anderson went for a triple-double last night. The Hawks fall to the Wolves. 136-115. Good win for Minnesota on the road last night to get them back over 500 at 35-34 on the season. Edwards goes for 32. Anderson, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, triple-double for Slow-Mo last night as the Wolves get over 500 on the season. And as you look at the up-to-date standings now, the Western Conference, boy, things are, again, they're going to be tight the entire way here, the rest of the way of this NBA season. We talked about yesterday where the Wolves stood with our what to watch. They got 13 games to go. They are currently 7th. They're a half game ahead or a full game ahead of Dallas now and a game behind Golden State. I guess we don't have that. Golden State and the Clippers for 5th in the Western Conference heading into this stretch run. So a good win on the road last night for Minnesota with Dallas, the Lakers now in the 9 spot, and the Pelicans holding down the 10. So as it stands right now, the Wolves would host Dallas in a play-in game. The Pelicans would play the Lakers. The winner of the Wolves-Mavericks game would get the 7 seed. The loser would play the winner of the Lakers and the Pelicans for the 8 seed, as it stands now with 13 games to go in the regular season. And the Wolves still have a couple games in hand on some teams. As we come down the stretch of the NBA regular season, going to be as tight as possible, but a good win last night for Minnesota on the road against the Hawks with Boston looming, that game coming up tomorrow night. Meanwhile, while that was happening, you decided to stay up and be interested in it. The World Baseball Classic is going on. Now, this is an event that happens basically, it's varies. Sometimes every 4 years, sometimes every 6 years. I think this is the 3rd or 4th iteration of it. And it's happening here during spring training where some of the best players in the world are going to play for their respective countries. Others are not. Some are choosing to either heal up and get ready for the Major League season, which is what they're paid for. Others have declined to not participate just for they want to take as much rest as they can, knowing they got 162 games to come here at the end of the month. Still others have embraced it, including the United States best and Japan's best. Shohei Ohtani is playing for the Japanese team. Mike Trout is playing for the American team, which is good. I still don't know if it's going to catch on, especially when you have games starting at 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night Eastern time, like the American game did last night against Canada. The U.S. came in 1-1 in pool play. They had to win this game, basically, if they wanted any chance to advance. They had lost to Mexico in their last game, which was on Sunday. They got off to a quick start in this game. And then when Mike Trout comes up, it's already 6-0 in the first inning. A 3-run bomb to left center. They get 9 runs in the opening inning. This is what you need to do against a team that you should overwhelm. The U.S. is in a group with Great Britain, not necessarily a baseball power, the Canadians, Colombia, and Mexico. These are teams you got to beat. I think they're in there with Italy as well. Trey Turner, for good measure, bombs this one. The U.S. run rules Canada. They actually have this in this tournament in 7 innings. They win 12-1, so they are 2-1 now in pool play with 1 game remaining, and that will come up on Wednesday. They'll wrap up the pool play against Colombia. So excellent win last night. And again, I don't know if anybody's paying attention. I like to see the best play against the best, which has been entertaining. But, I mean, you've had some ugly scores. I mean, Korea beat China yesterday by 22-2. Puerto Rico won 10-rip over Israel. I mean, we got some lopsided scores here. You look at the games coming up today. Nicaragua's playing Venezuela. The Venezuela team, as you know, is quite good. The Dominican Republic team should be loaded. They've already lost a game. They're 1-1. Colombia has some players. They're 1-1. The Mexican team, all right. The U.S. team, as we mentioned, is 2-1. They play their final round-robin game coming up on Wednesday. I just don't know what the attention is on this. Maybe it'll get higher if the U.S. advances into the knockout stage, which comes up over the weekend. But again, you're going head-to-head with a basketball tournament. Like I talked about when we heard this was happening again. I just don't know who really cares? Who really watches? This is a under-the-radar event that even the baseball hardcores, maybe they're watching their individual teams get ready for the season in spring training games because all those games are televised. The Twins are playing today on Bally Sports North. I guarantee there's probably more people that will watch that were invested in this game last night. Just a random guess, I would think on that, but I'll be interested to see when the ratings come out on what the U.S. is, especially when they're playing. They played at 9 o'clock at night Central Time on their first 3 games. Their next one coming up on Wednesdays. Again, it's a 9 o'clock Central Time start. At what kind of audience and on Fox Sports 1. I don't know what kind of audience you're expecting to get when you're playing that late. We'll see. Last thing before we wrap up our opening segment, we're talking about NFL free agency. Yesterday, the Vikings saw Patrick Peterson leave. There were some overtures, I think, from Peterson's camp that he wanted to stay. The Vikings made an attempt, but couldn't come to an agreement. He signed with the Steelers. Dalvin Tomlinson, who they liked up front, defensive lineman, also decided to leave. He's on his way also to the AFC North as he'll sign with the Browns, 4 years, $57 million with Cleveland. They did retain Jordan Hicks, a restructured contract, but they did make one big deal, according to the NFL Network, signing defensive end Marcus Davenport from the New Orleans Saints, getting him for a 1-year deal worth about $13 million. He was the 14th overall pick of the 2018 draft. Missed at least 2 games each year is with the Saints. Needs to pass a physical. Career high 9 sacks in 11 games in 2021. Just a half a sack, though, in 14 games last season. 6'6", 265 pounds. First key addition for Brian Flores for the new defensive coordinator. According to the Star Tribune, his athletic ability makes him an enticing target for a team that needs to bolster its pass rush heading into this season. The possible addition of Davenport raises questions about the future of edge rushers Zadarius Smith, who remains under contract a week after reportedly asking for his release. Of course, Zadarius has asked for it. There's been nothing extended there. The Vikings also signed Ravens tight end Josh Oliver. Oliver, with a 3-year deal there, is more of a blocking tight end. Their receiving tight end is TJ Hawkinson. The team will need to clear enough cap space to sign Davenport and Oliver by Wednesday afternoon, which is when the league year begins. So, the tinkering of the roster is underway. They've let Kendricks go. They let Cam Dantzler go. They let Adam Thielen go. Kendricks, by the way, last night announced he's signing with the Chargers. Cam Dantzler's heading to the Commanders. Nothing yet on Thielen. I think there's some out there that maybe tie him to if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, then Thielen may be a Jet. But that's the current construction of what the Vikings have done here early on in NFL free agency. And we figure, is there more moves coming? I would imagine so, as you just said. They still have to get underneath the cap to sign the 2 guys we talked about, in Oliver and Davenport. And I'd imagine there are more moves coming today. One other move in the NFC North, Alan Lazard reportedly going to sign with the Jets. So again, there's another overture there by New York to tell Aaron Rodgers, now we got a guy that you know. Come play with us. Does it happen? I don't know, but it's going to be awfully intriguing to see what takes place here. We still got another, again, Rodgers said he was going to drag this out. Don't know if this is going to happen or not. We have a packed show coming up for you here on this Tuesday morning. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll visit with Perham girls basketball head coach TJ Super, head coach of the Yellow Jackets. They're on their way to state for the first time since 1991. The Perham girls will be represented at the 2A state tournament. They beat Wadena Deer Creek last week to win 8AA. We know the success at Perham for many programs: baseball, boys basketball, football, track, cross country, wrestling. Girls basketball has not been one of them. So that was a big-time moment last week, and now they get to play at the state tournament. We'll visit with TJ here in just a few minutes. Mike McFeely will be by in his usual 9:35 time slot. We'll discuss that Bison matchup with the University of Oregon in the WNIT. Lots of other topics we'll chat about with Mike coming up at 9:35. Also, with the transfer portal window opened, we'll see what happens. At 10 o'clock, Kyle Emanuel will be back with us to break down what took place at the NFL Combine. Big week for Cody Mauch. He was all over television while we were down in Sioux Falls at the Summer League Tournament. You couldn't miss it that Cody was there. We'll discuss that with Kyle coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, Brandy George will join us. Head coach of the Thompson Boys. The 2019 state champs are back at the State B for the first time since they won it. They are into the night session, and we'll see what the champs of Region 2 have in store for us at Bismarck coming up later this week. So, a full guest lineup here on this Tuesday morning. We'll take a break. Hot Mic is off and rolling. We're back after this on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. Busy show today. We got lots to get to as we sit here in the middle of March with the NCAA basketball tournament beginning tonight. The women's tournament tips off tomorrow. NIT starts tonight. So there's still plenty to dive into over the next few weeks, including the Minnesota girls state basketball tournament, which will tip off tomorrow down in Minneapolis. And for the first time since 1991, the Perham girls will be a part of the state basketball tournaments. After the Yellow Jackets beat Wadena Deer Creek in the 8AA championship game last week in Detroit Lakes, they're actually on their way to Minneapolis as we speak. Head coach TJ Super is good enough to join us on the bus on the way down to the Twin Cities. It's great to see you. Congratulations. Just tell me the last few days what it's been like in Perham for the girls to get this kind of notoriety.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a whirlwind. I think the girls, we kind of had this goal in mind. I don't think we were surprised necessarily, but it doesn't take away from the fun or from the excitement. The community's been great for us. They've been really supportive. I mean, we've played in front of packed houses. The Hive's been rocking all January and February. So this just kind of adds on to it. And, just getting everything ready to head down the state's been fun. And, we got our fire truck escort out of town and pep fest before we left. And it's been crazy, but it's been a lot of fun.
You've been coaching there for 11 years, and you've seen the other teams go. You've seen boys basketball, what Dave has done, baseball, wrestling, cross-country, track. Did you always feel left out, like everybody else has had success and we haven't been able to get over the hump yet?
Well, for 6 years there, I mean, we weren't anywhere kind of even close to it, so it kind of felt like we knew we had a long ways to go before we could get there. I do coach baseball too. I'm an assistant on the baseball coach, so I got to coach at Target Field, and we've been down the state a lot. And the thing about Perham is that we have a ton of respect and support, and across all the programs. Dave, he was one of the first guys to say good luck this morning. After a tough loss, but they just run things so well there. Our cross country program's amazing. Our baseball programs, we have so many great programs, and we have a lot of great community support. And so it just kind of felt like the building blocks were there. We just had to get there.
Tell me about the section championship game. You got up big in that game. Wadena made a rally. Just to be in that pressure cooker for the first time, and what was that? What were you telling the girls as the game kept going on in the second half?
Well, when we got to halftime, we had 42 at halftime. I mean, we put up a big number in the first half, and a lot of teams or a lot of people like to talk about our offense and our shooting and all that, but we kind of try to hang our hat on our defense, and we kind of think when we get to 45, the game's over. So even though they made a run, it was kind of like, we didn't think they were going to get to 45, and they ended up at 44, and we just knew we had to make a couple shots down the stretch and a couple free throws. The girls, I don't think have ever really been nervous up to this point. I think they've always been excited. We put in the work. We kind of had this goal of like no hope, like don't give anyone in the section hope. And we went undefeated throughout the entire section for the whole season. So I don't think they got rattled at all. It's just more excited. Let's get it done and go celebrate.
TJ, we're watching video of the trophy celebration. Describe what that moment was like when the girls got the medals and then the trophy.
The storming the court after the final buzzer, the getting the medals and hearing every girl's name called was just really special. And then hoisting that trophy as a team. Again, this team has basically had a bunch of different goals, back-to-back conference championships, undefeated through the conference, undefeated through the section. And just to see them reach every single goal has been really fun. They've put a lot of work in, a lot of time in, and when you do that and you set those goals and you can reach them, it's pretty dang fun.
Especially after last year to get as close as you did. What was it I guess inspiration, disappointment? What was the mindset after getting so close last year to take it into this season?
We've had 3 really good seasons before this season, and each of those seasons we had one of our starters have a season-ending injury. And so it's just, it felt like we were knocking on the door. And so I do think that was some motivation. I just feel like we had a really good mix this year of outside shooting. I mean, we've made, over 250 threes. And then our post is obviously really good. And our bench play, our bench scored over 40 points, in the championship, or really close to 40 points in the championship. So when you put all those pieces together, you got something. And then we were lucky, we didn't have to deal with any of those injuries throughout the year. So, again, makes it fun.
So now your reward for all that, winning 26 games, is 28-1 Albany is a powerhouse that won this a couple years ago. For basketball fans, that's Paige Meyer's alma mater, who's the great guard at South Dakota State. What do you expect for this game now tomorrow night against Albany?
We've watched them play. The thing about this squad that we have this year is that all summer we tried to challenge ourselves. So, we saw Albany, we saw Lake Crystal, we obviously played Crosby in the summer. We played Providence. We brought them into the Hive and played them. Like, we haven't shied away from this. So we've been preparing for this exact moment. They're really good, obviously. They are long and tall, and they have really great players. There's a couple all-state girls. But, as long as we go play our game and keep them away from the basket, rebound, take care of the ball, I like our chances. But we know we got to do something special to win some games down here.
What do you imagine, I guess, when you get out on the floor tomorrow night? Nerves, excitement, a little bit of both for you and then the team?
Well, luckily it doesn't matter how I feel because I'm not doing much. But I think there'll be a little bit of nervous excitement. But kind of like I said, this team hasn't really been nervous throughout the playoffs. And we had a target on our back. Everyone kind of picked us to win the section before the year started. And, just the way we took care of business, everyone gave us their best shot all the time. And the girls knew that was coming. And even though the expectations were on us and that we had the pressure, I don't think the girls were nervous. So I don't expect them to play nervous tomorrow. But obviously down on a big stage, you never know how it's going to go.
To get here, man, you just tell me the sense. Is it accomplishment for yourself to see this out? Because as you mentioned, there were some lean years early on. To get there, how gratifying is this? Now sitting on the bus, you just got the escort out of town. Is this seem not surreal, but even beyond gratifying?
It is. It really is. My assistant, Michelle Borman, has been along for 10 years. And, those first couple of years, like you said, the first year I was here, we won 2 games. Then it was like 7, and then 9. And it's been a nice, slow build. But it's really less about those first years and more about these girls that are on the bus with us here. And, all the shots that they put up. They come in the morning, they come in the summer, and the parents that come rebound for their daughters and that coach them when they're in 5th and 6th grade, and watching them grow and develop and all that stuff. And then when you put together freshmen and sophomores and juniors and seniors and just watch them all come together, it's exciting, obviously, as a coach, we've been doing this a long time to finally get there. But, with this group, it's really special.
Okay, what's on the menu here for what you got, like TV stuff? You got a movie streaming? Do you have any control of that? What's everybody watching on the way down here?
Well, we are definitely watching Rio. The girls love it. They love to dance to it. This is a unique team. You know, when we come in the locker room before the game, we need to let them finish their Disney show tunes that they're singing. And they're just like blasting stuff all the time and singing and dancing. So, you know, I think my other assistant coach, Robbie Cox, he coached boys for a long time, and he started coaching girls last year with us. And I think he walked in the locker room and was a little shocked. He's like, these girls are not ready to play. They're not focused. And then we went out and beat #1 Fergus after he said we weren't focused. So I think he learned something about girls, and it's a unique experience, but it sure is a lot of fun.
I really appreciate the time. Safe travels down to the Twin Cities, and good luck tomorrow night, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
TJ Super, head coach of the Perham girls, on their way on the bus, literally, as you saw there, to the Twin Cities. They have a matchup coming up with Albany tomorrow night in the opening round of the 8AA tournament. That'll be at 8 o'clock at the Maturi Pavilion, which, of course, is right next door to Williams Arena. As the games are split up, there'll be games happening simultaneously for the 2A tournament at 6 and 8 at Williams Arena. You'll see Providence Academy against Lake Crystal. Minnehaha and then New London Spicer is the second game. Crosby, Ironton, and Goodhue will start things at 6 at the Maturi Pavilion, followed by Perham and Albany. Big-time deal there for the Yellow Jackets, which I know they got to feel smarting today after losing last night on the boys' side, the defending 6th champions, after they beat DGF last year. But we'll have the 8AA semifinals. We'll tell you about that coming up later on the show tomorrow night right here on Extra. But congratulations to the Perham girls, and we'll see them on the big floor tomorrow night in the 8AA tournament, or the AA tournament, excuse me. We'll take a break. We come back. Mike McFeely will be by. Lots to recap there, including how the Bison women get ready for a national power with Oregon. We'll detail that when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra at InForum.com.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
You good? Okay.
Is there a reason why I'm out of the shot?
Look at that.
Isn't that great? Old man yells.
Baseball sucks. These kids today.
Right? All righty, welcome back in studio to our good friend Mike McFeely. By the way, I got you got a tweeted at that apparently we should have some sort of comedy road show last week. Did you see that?
Yes. Yes. Apparently it's.
Are we that hilarious?
Well, I mean, I kind of look
you
at
clearly
me.
are.
Yeah, I clearly am. I think you're more the straight man, just sort of the
I'm setting you up here.
The buffoon that kind of sets me up. The Abbott to my Costello. The Laurel to my Hardy, or whatever.
You're trending way older than people.
Yeah. I mean, and at some point, look, if we do that,
yep.
What worries me is at some point there's going to be an ugly breakup because
my massive ego, probably.
Because I'm going to have the opportunities for movies.
Oh, I see.
And my own show and endorsements, and you're just going to kind of be, riding my coattails. And it's like I'm going to have to, Dom.
Yeah.
It's been a great run.
But it's over.
But you're holding me back. You're Chad Hartman to my Dan Barrero. And so we're going to split, and I'm going to go off and make millions, and you're going to be here.
Just doing this? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, it was a good run.
It was. It was.
You have a story up right now at InForum.com asking if Tom Hoagie is a potential for the 2023 United States Ryder Cup team. We were talking about this, Kolpak and I, yesterday. The up-to-date points list is out. Hoagie zoomed up after his top 3 finish of the Players, now to 9th, which the top 6 automatically make the Ryder Cup, and then there's 6 captain's picks after that.
And the captain is Zach Johnson from Iowa.
Which I had an email about that yesterday. Say, does the Midwestern ties play into that? What do you think?
Zach Johnson played at Fargo Country Club in the Bobcat Open.
Is that right?
Ago.
I did not know that. Okay,
missed the cut. Didn't qualify for the week. Yes, way back when. So
what do you think here?
Well, he has to play well. Tom Hoagie does for the next 4 months
at least. Yeah,
because it's the last event in the points compilation is the BMW Championship, which is in late August. Yep. And then the Tour Championship after that, Zach Johnson would make the captain's picks. So there's a ways to go. Actually, Tom Hoagie's dad tweeted at me yesterday when I tried to throw a question out to Brandel Chambly from the Golf Channel to see if I could get a reaction out of him for my column. And Tom Hoagie's dad tweeted at me and said, there's plenty of time to go. He's ninth and he's getting to sixth. Let's see where this goes.
But you as a golfer and golf fan, and you watched Saturday, many did, what he did Saturday at that golf course, playing with Justin Thomas, one of the best in the world, had to open up some eyes to say, he gets some consideration.
Sure. And I don't think that he was like under the radar. I think Tom Hoagie on the PGA Tour is very well respected, a known commodity. His issue, and he pointed it out in his post-round press conference on Sunday when somebody asked him, do you see yourself as being able to go to that next level and become a top 10 or 15 player in the world? And by the way, Tom Hoagie right now is ranked 24th in the world.
That's pretty good.
I mean, think about that.
I know.
I mean, that's almost as good as Tom Lehman from Alexandria, Minnesota. Great golf community.
Yes.
The golf cradle of Minnesota, I call it. Tom Lehman was actually number 1 in the world for 1 week before a guy named Tiger Woods came on the scene. But Tom Hoagie is 24th in the world. I mean, think about that.
I know it. That's still hard to wrap my mind
incredible.
around. I know it.
Guy from Fargo. And so he's a known commodity. But Tom said after his round on Sunday, when asked that question, he said, well, I have some limitations in terms of how far I hit the ball, and he's not a big hitter. Tom Hoagie, if you watch him play in person, which we have, obviously 24th best golfer in the world, but you don't just go, oh my gosh, like you do when you see a Dustin Johnson or a Tiger Woods hit the ball back in the day. That was just like a nuclear explosion. Right. Tom Hoagie hits it plenty far for us mortals, but it's nothing compared to the guys out in the PGA Tour. And so I had somebody text me over the weekend, Greg McCullough, that said, it would be awesome if Tom Hoagie could get in the Ryder Cup because an alternate shot, he would be terrific. Because his iron, you saw his iron.
We're watching it right now.
Unbelievable
just
iron player.
Yeah, lasers.
Unbelievable iron player. And when he gets hot with the putter, that's when he shoots 62. The next day, he missed a couple of putts, believe it or not, from relatively short distances. But the driver is not long. The irons are always there. And like many, many high-level golfers, it all depends on the putting.
The putting is always kind of
But
depends.
he would be an intriguing selection. Or if he makes it on his own, which is still a possibility, it would be great.
He birdied the island hole 3 of the 4 days.
Yeah.
Which is supposedly one of the hardest holes in the world, right?
It's only 125 yards. It all depends on the wind and there's pressure there.
Right.
And and on that hole, it depends where the hole location is because on Saturday, I think it was in a very easy spot.
Yeah. And that's the day he didn't birdie it.
You're right. Yeah. Right.
When he shot 62.
But to me, it's more of it's some of the other holes that you see out there that are just ridiculous in terms of how penal they are in their length.
So the Ryder Cup is in Italy.
Rome.
You make that work?
When in Rome.
Is that in the Fargo? Is that in the Fargo? Is that in the foreign budget?
The foreign budget? Unlikely. I'm not sure Rome, South Dakota is in the.
I don't want to hear anything about South Dakota after last week's travel deal, man, coming back. No. Because you tweeted it out, and I wanted to about the Department of Works down there. And what do you do? What do you do?
What are we doing here?
What? Not even. So we went in the middle of the night. You went in the morning.
Yes.
And they still hadn't touched the roads.
No. Why?
Like, what?
Why?
What are we doing?
Well, now, Eric, did you guys have a car coming?
Yes, that is confirmed. I
did not hear.
I told this story on Thursday morning because I didn't do the show Wednesday. Okay. So we're just north of Watertown, which we knew from our good friend Brian Shawn had told us because he went back Tuesday. The north of Watertown to the South Dakota border was going to get nasty, and it lived up to the reputation. This is about 2 o'clock in the morning, and Eric Bedell, who is off today, he sees like that car in the wrong lane.
Oh, gosh.
And it's ways away, right? And
how
it's
scary is that?
Like literally planes, trains, and automobiles. You're going the wrong way. This car is going south in the northbound lane.
Oh.
I mean, right by us.
Oh.
Right by us.
Oh.
I mean, it's not like we were falling asleep, but we were jack wired after that. Like, holy cow. Yeah. Yep. And this guy kept going for a while.
Sure.
Like we can still see his
tail
rear view,
lights.
his tail lights as it goes past us here. Like, wow.
Oh.
Yep. Had that. Besides the
Just
semis going past us and totally blinding us because they're indestructible out there. And,
Yep.
I'm almost coming to a full stop on the interstate. Not ideal, by the way. Probably not a good thing to do, but.
Well, that sounds like a fun trip back from Sioux Falls.
That was all right.
Let's do it again next year.
Sign me up.
Jeepers.
Off of that, it is now transfer portal season. I don't know if you know
we're
this.
going from golf to the transfer portal.
It
Okay.
opened up yesterday.
We're all over
right?
the place this
we got
morning.
a lot to talk about here. So, because the NCAA tournament was officially selected, so the day after the championship field is selected, the portal window can open.
Open for 60 days.
It is. There's a few names in there that we'll recognize in the Summit League. I imagine there's going to be a few more that we will know.
This week is going to be interesting.
Is it critical this week? I'll ask you on the Bison side of things.
Well, it's critical, I think, for schools that are on spring break. Because from the coaches I've talked with over the years, when the kids go home after their season ends, and then they have a spring break, and they go home, wherever that might be, that's when people start to talk to them and say, well, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Oh, you're better than that. And family members or friends or former teammates or former coaches, talking to the kids going, oh, what are you doing there? What are you doing? You should be better than that. You should be playing in the Big Ten. You should be playing more minutes.
Yeah.
And that's where I think coaches sweat the spring break week because until the kids get back to campus and get back in the routine and see their teammates and go back to class, I think that's what makes the coaches nervous.
Bowden Scunberg said after the Bison lost to Oral Roberts, said, I don't expect anybody to go in. I mean, granted, that was in the heat of the moment afterwards, but doesn't mean that that's going to happen.
Nope.
I'm intrigued to see on the Bison men's with how many young players they have, can they retain most of them for next season?
Yeah, and as
who they're retaining is more important.
And we all know that in I'm not talking specifically of North Dakota State, but it's included in this broad discussion, is there are always discussions at the end of seasons about maybe you would, can we help you find someplace else to play?
That has happened forever.
Yep, it has. Yep. It's just that it's more well known now, and that happens at Division II. It happens at Division I. It happens in the Summit League. It happens in the Big Ten. It happens in the SEC. It happens everywhere.
Probably happens more in the Power 5 level than it does in mid-major, I would say, right?
Yep.
And you're not working. It's not, maybe things aren't working out here, right? Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather be close to home, son? Isn't your girlfriend still back home? You miss your mom. And so those discussions happen. And so when you see kids like that go, that's like oftentimes a mutual decision. In terms of North Dakota State, you look at those freshmen that they had, and I'm not suggesting anybody's going anywhere that they should, but Damari Wheeler-Thomas was terrific in the second half of the year. That's a guy that they need to come back.
Yep.
Lance Waddles didn't play as much later in the year, but I know that Dave Richmond throughout the year has said that he's as skilled of an offensive player as we've had here, and which is saying something.
That's saying a lot.
To Javis Miller, had some big games. And I thought in the Summit League tournament, looked a little bit more confident, a little bit more, you know what, I'm going to shoot the ball if I'm open.
Certainly in the South Dakota game.
And then the block, of course, the end. Still, he does some freshman things.
Yep.
But, man, those three kids, having those guys back would be huge for NDSU. And, of course, the 6'11" elephant in the room.
Right, and that's there.
That's a whole different situation with Grant Nelson, because I don't know if the Bison can expect him back. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody since the end of the season. I'm just letting it ride. But, I mean, that whether it's the NBA, whether it's the transfer portal, who knows what's going to happen there. That's something that we're all keeping our eye on until the draft or a couple weeks before the draft.
Now, the Gophers, he had a couple guys go in yesterday as well. I mean, that's not necessarily surprising either.
I think the one was a little bit, I don't know, surprising, but it hurt. The young freshman guard, Trayton Thompson from Alexandria.
He hasn't played, though.
Played 7-footer. He could end up
In the Summit
at
League,
St.
right?
Thomas,
Yeah,
I would guess.
I thought the same
I
thing.
mean, I don't don't know the connections.
No, but I thought the same thing. He's a Summit League
Wait,
player.
we think everybody's going to St. Thomas, don't we? I mean, we think everybody's going there.
I think it's reasonable to think that nowadays.
Some kids
and
out
some
of Minnesota,
will.
going to St. Thomas.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility with them now being Division I and being good.
And in the Twin Cities.
Right. You got to put 2 and 2 together.
And then having you making phone calls on their behalf.
Jaden Henley is the who you're talking about.
I'm talking about, yep.
Because he was tied with Dennis Evans, who was the high-profile recruit who just decommitted from Ben Johnson's
and went to Louisville.
Right. Which, by the way, Louisville won, 4 games this year?
Yep.
So,
but, there's things happening.
Right?
Things happen in college basketball.
Last thing before we take a break. Oral Roberts gets 12th seed. I think what we probably expected that.
Yep, we did.
But they get Duke. Good matchup. They get hosed. What do we match? Can this team can they make a run?
I mean, if you're going to be a 12 seed, you're going to get a 5 seed.
Right.
It all depends who the 5 seed is. Duke is not the undisputed powerhouse they've been for the last 40 years.
They are hot though. I'll say that.
Well, okay, but they're still a 5 seed.
And Oral Roberts won 30 basketball games this year.
Yeah. I mean, so unless you're going to be a 7 seed, which I don't think you're going to be from the Summit League unless you go undefeated and have the number 1 overall draft choice or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's as good as Oral Roberts could be out of the Summit League.
Can they
which
do
is a 12 seed?
Can they do what they did 2 years ago?
I don't know. I still think that's a sometimes a year-to-year thing. I just, people they're saying, well, last year Oral Roberts was the predetermined king of the Summit League a year ago.
They finished 4th.
And they finished 4th and got thumped by NDSU in the tournament. And so they're good. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They were the best team clearly in the Summit League this year. South Dakota State last year went undefeated in the Summit League, and they were not close to Providence.
No, they got thumped in that game.
I think they were they a 13 seed?
Yep.
They got
thumped.
By Providence.
Yeah,
that
really
game was
wasn't
not
a game.
close.
Yeah,
no.
that really wasn't a game
And that was
last
the
year.
best South Dakota State team ever.
Yep.
So a lot of it is what we always talk about, matchups, breaks, momentum. We'll see.
It's going to be tough. It's Duke,
Who do you root for?
You root for the next game.
I mean,
Let's move this one on.
that's the obvious question that everybody, and in the Summit League included, by the way,
correct,
looked at that and went, oh, God, who do you root for here?
Let's take a break. We come back. Mike's got some info we'll chat about with the postseason tournaments for both NDSU and UND. We'll discuss that. We wrap up hour 1 of Hot Mike here on a Tuesday morning. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up hour 1 here on this Tuesday morning. Easton Stick is back with the Chargers. We mentioned that on the show yesterday. Does that surprise you at all?
No, it does not. I had talked with somebody in Los Angeles prior to a column I wrote a couple weeks ago about where each of the NDSU quarterbacks could end up. Mm-hmm. And the indication I got from that person was that this exactly could happen, that it was that the Chargers likely said, you know what, go see what's out there for yourself. And if you don't see what you like or like what you see, the door is open to come back here and chat with us. And I think that is clearly what happened.
And now he's going to be the main backup to
we think,
Justin
right?
Herbert, I would think. I think they've moved on from Chase Daniel and his gargantuan salary.
Although he's still out there.
Yeah.
And he's a free agent as well, so he could come back and do the same thing Stick did. But
boy, he's made a ton of money.
I know.
Daniel
Easton Stick is going to end up making a lot of money.
Doing okay without getting your head bashed
right.
in,
I mean,
right?
good for him.
Right.
What a career.
It's pretty good profession you could have
what
as
was
backup
his salary?
quarterback.
1.8?
Yes, that's what he just signed for
this year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
He's already made about $3.5 million.
I don't know if you knew this, but $1.8 million is a lot of money. To me, I don't know what TV salaries are going these days for, but
it'd be all right for me too. I'll just say that. It'd be A-okay there. You have a story also you wrote yesterday, because I had a few people who were messaging the show asking, all right, so how does the women on IT work, which, by the way, I still don't really know how the bracketing hall that works, considering that was really odd.
Yeah, apparently there's seeds. They don't explain it very well.
No.
It's It's a tournament run by a privately owned company.
Yeah,
like
the
one of these
NCAA
sports,
has nothing to do with this.
One of these sports management firms, that's fine. I don't know. They run preseason tournaments. They have, but it's really not a very well publicized.
It's like it's under the shroud of darkness, basically.
Yeah.
Like we knew the teams on Sunday night, but we didn't know who's playing who until noon yesterday.
Yep.
And then games start tomorrow.
They want a news cycle. They want to get it out there on a Monday. They don't want to be overshadowed by Sunday stuff. But the bottom line is NDSU is going out to Oregon.
Yeah. Who's, by the way, the number 1 seed apparently in this particular region or whatever.
Bracket or pod or whatever region. I don't know if there are regions. Whatever. It's but in terms of draws for NDSU, I'm not sure it could get any worse than that.
Yeah. Oregon's all right.
And they're traveling to Eugene.
Yep.
And so it very possibly a one and done for North Dakota State's women's team. But to look at the positive, they finished with the 2nd seed in the league, which is better than they've ever done in Division I. There was a flicker of hope there during the season. Nobody expected that they were as good as South Dakota State. And anybody out there that said, "Well, I guess they're not that good," nobody thought that they were going to be in the same neighborhood as South Dakota State.
And that wasn't anybody on this show saying that.
No,
one said that here.
No, not at all. But there was a perception out there, I think, from Jack's fans or whomever, nobody said
the
that
guys that are nipping at their heels.
No, God, no.
No.
I don't think Jory Collins would say that. I don't think nobody would say that.
They haven't beaten them in 8 years. So
right,
no.
and they haven't been close.
Yeah.
And you just watch the games and go, okay, they're not close to that. Not even, nope. So, but it's a step forward. They get an extra game. They get an extra couple weeks of practice. For a young team, I think that's really important. Yep. And just a little flavor of just, something new for the program.
Oregon's a couple years removed from being in the Elite Eight, okay? When they had Sabrina Nescu on their team, who was the best player. She was the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. This year was a down year for them. They were 17-14, 7-11 in the Pac-12, which got 7 teams into the women's tournament.
Yeah,
Oregon, I think, finished 8th.
Pac-12 is we joke about the Pac-12's weakness in college football,
which is a good joke.
Which is a solid. Really not even a joke. It's just factual.
Just fact. Yeah. Ain't messing around in hoops.
Women's basketball, it is a powerhouse conference.
Yep. So that's a 9:00 start on Friday. But this is not. The NCAA covers the funding or the travel expenses for the NCAA tournament and the men's NIT. It is not there for the women's NIT.
No, I talked to Matt Larson yesterday, and they have to cover up to $15,000 in costs, and then the WNIT will cover everything after that. And it's that $15,000 is gobbled up in a hurry.
Yeah.
That's
a trip to Eugene, Oregon.
For a flight to Eugene, Oregon, that's going to be more than $15,000. So. And just you'll spend $15,000. Larson looks at it, as I've asked him many times, and you were there as well down in Sioux Falls. It's an investment in the program. The women improved. They got the 2nd seed. They got a berth. They didn't have to buy their way in.
Right, you're correct.
It's not an entry fee thing like the UND thing is. They bought their way into the tournament, which is fine.
Which was what, $17,000?
$17,000.
That's a lot of money already.
Plus they're paying all their expenses as well. But for UND,
investment there.
It's an investment there. They can reward the seniors that have stuck it out,
and
plus they have some young team.
3 games
They're
down
guaranteed
there, right?
3 games at the same site. So they and they practice for 2 more weeks. Yep. And the team itself, Bill Chave said, we're all on board. Every player said, let's do this. And so it's $17,000 or $15,000 in today's college athletics world is a drop in the bucket. Right. UND just spent like $6 million on a locker room for hockey. Mm-hmm. The Engelstad Foundation dumped $6 million. $17,000 is a drop in a 5-gallon pail. And NDSU just raised $55 million for a football facility. Yeah. So $15,000 for the women's team to travel to Oregon to play a game is just fine.
And then for Jory and Mallory Bernhardt, whenever their seasons end, they go right into the same worry that Dave Richmond is in and Paul Sather's in about, all right, who's coming back? And how, I don't know, does it change, Mike, that they're still playing, or is it just delay it by a week or two about that?
The portal's open for 60 days, so it's not like there's a deadline or,
You know what I'm saying? They're still together?
Yes, it does. Yes, I think it does. They're not going to leave. Well, I mean, some football players left, I guess, in the middle of the season for NDSU. To me, women's basketball, I think that the women are going to stick around till the end of the season. And then if any of them decide they want to go someplace else, they will. I still believe, especially at mid-major basketball, I don't know that the transfer portal fever has hit women's basketball as much as it hits men's basketball. It's just, I don't know if you knew this, Dom, but women are different than men. And in the way they think, they're much smarter. Women are much more realistic and pragmatic and just way more intelligent than men in general.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'm not joking. I mean, they just, my wife and daughter see things way differently than I do. And I often step back and go, oh, God, you're right. God, what the hell was I thinking? But I think they look at it as get an education. The opportunity for professional basketball and big money isn't there, right or wrong. Right. It's probably wrong in women's basketball. And so I don't think there's that urge that there is in men's basketball that I'm going to be the next big thing and I'm going to go to the league, even though I'm the 7th player on a mid-major in Fargo. I'm going to go to the league. That's just not a thing, I don't think, in women's basketball.
Be interested to see how this game goes.
Also, they're smarter than men.
Yeah, just go back to that point. Just that's a good way to end it right there. They're just smarter than us.
Oh, I have a better way to end it. Because with this women's basketball game at 9 o'clock on Friday night, Dom, I'm going to be tired. And I'm going to need some energy.
Oh.
And one of my favorite snacks to get some energy are Reese's Pieces. Now, Reese's Pieces have the same great flavor as the classic Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, but without the mess and with a great candy coating crunch. So if you're looking for a quick pick-me-up as you're watching the Bison women's game late Friday night, think of Reese's Pieces.
You know, it'd be better if you just staple it to your forehead when you come in.
I'm open for whatever.
Whatever.
I'm just trying.
I appreciate that.
So whoever owns Reese's, is it Mars? I don't even know.
I think so. I believe that's
there's
the
like
case.
2 candy
companies
companies
there's only 2 left.
So.
I got yelled at by the Nestle people. They don't own Crunch anymore.
Huh?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they sold it.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Who owns it? China?
I think just Crunch Bar is what I was told now.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Anyway.
Thanks for coming by.
If Reese's is looking for a sponsorship opportunity,
give them a shout.
Give us a shout here at Hot Mic. Tuesdays, 9:35.
Great to see you, man. Mike McFeely joining us each and every Tuesday. We'll take a break. We'll start hour 2. Kyle Emanuel by. We'll break down what we saw at the NFL Combine and all the other NFL moves happening as free agency is upon us. We'll begin hour 2 of Hot Mic right after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
He's on the all-tape team, day 3 version. Yeah, Bill and I, we were just talking about it. We love this player. Man, this guy makes plays.
Emanuel was in that backfield.
Kick is up and it's blocked. That's a live ball, scooped up by North Dakota State. Kyle Emanuel takes it all the way down to the 5-yard line.
I remember I was getting recruited. Coach Bull told me, if you come here, I think you'll win a national championship. He never said anything about 4.
Oh, it's good to see our guy Kyle Emanuel back in studio on the day before the day with NFL free agency set to go. Was this a nerve-wracking time when in the NFL? I mean, you're not around the guys. I know now, like your teammates when you were playing, but were you talking with guys like, hey, what's up? You're going to be. What was this time like when you were playing?
Yeah, it was always weird. I think of, one of my best friends was an undrafted free agent. So after year 3, he was technically, I think he's restricted at that point, but you just didn't know if he was going to be back. Yeah. And, you had to kind of cheer for him to get what he wanted, personally, but selfishly, I wanted him back. And, that's just one example. Yeah. And, for me personally, this was a very weird time because I ended up retiring.
Right.
So, it was. It always brings back some emotions. Yeah.
It's tough because I'm sure you hear from other teams what they think of you. Like you have your own evaluation. I'm sure your agent has what they're telling, and then when you hear from a different team, it's got to be almost like a punch in the face, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's almost back to. It's not the same, but it's almost back to the pre-draft process a little bit, where literally any team could come get you, and in the draft, any team could have gotten me. Especially when you go in the 5th round. Right. Any team could have taken me, and now it was the exact same thing. Yeah. Some teams value you. Some teams think you're worth league minimum. Some teams you think you're worth a little bit more. And again, it just comes down to that one team, giving you a shot. So it's a fun and it's exciting time as we see with all the national media. That's all we're talking about. I'm probably with a lot of people here, and I'm sick of hearing about Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I'm with you, man. And if he goes to my team, I'm great. If not, I'm done.
It's the world we live. Oh, I know. I can't. Three straight years.
He promised. He said, we're not going to drag this out. It's March 14th, man. I mean, the league year starts tomorrow. This is the definition of drug out, whatever.
It is what it is. But the thing is, like, we just keep talking. I just don't know why it's a headline every single day.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm with you.
Why isn't it a headline when he makes a decision?
Yeah, it gets eyeballs, gets clicks.
Happy late birthday to you, by the way.
Appreciate
Maybe he'll be joining your Jets, and then you'll get your long-awaited
So last year on my birthday, Tom Brady unretired. That was not a great gift. Did not appreciate that one, but at least he was staying in the NFC. This is different. Like I'm still of the mindset I wanted Garoppolo. Like seeing Jimmy G go to Vegas, which I want to get to in a second, because I thought the Jets are that close. They just need a guy like Garoppolo with that defense. Don't turn the ball over, somewhat stay healthy, which is an issue for him, and you could win 11 or 12 games.
Yeah.
With Rodgers, how many years is he going to play? 1 or 2 max. And how much are we going to give up to get him? That's the part where I'm conflicted.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you. I think the Jets kind of look at it as kind of like the Rams did a couple years ago, where they're just going to go all in for 2 years, 1 year, whatever, and we're going to try and get a Super Bowl. And then we might be terrible after that, but hey, we're going to go all in. We're going to give up some draft capital. We're going to give up some players. Who knows what they're going to have to give up for Rodgers, and hopefully that produces a Super Bowl. But I mean, the Broncos have been doing that for seems like 10 years now, or whenever Peyton Manning left, we're just a quarterback away.
Right.
We're just a quarterback away. Well. Then they get their guy last year, and it obviously didn't work out. So it doesn't always work out the way the team's playing.
I just, especially in that division, Buffalo is still quite good.
Yep.
It looks like the Dolphins have added some pieces there. Miami's all right. The Patriots are still the Patriots. I mean, the Jets they won 7 games, but they didn't score touchdowns in their final 3. They're not that. Are they Aaron Rodgers away from going to the Super Bowl? I don't know about that.
I would say no.
I don't think so either.
But I guess I don't know. I don't have a deep, extensive knowledge of their roster. I know they're talented. They had a really good draft last year.
Yep.
Good defense. But like you said, and the AFC in general, now you have to get past Patrick Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl.
And Joe Burrow.
And
Justin Herbert.
It's a better conference overall, in my opinion.
Easton Stick is back, 1-year deal, 1.8 with the Chargers. What do you make of that? Of Easton staying in LA?
Well, I think I said it right here on the show. I thought this was what their plan was the whole time. Now, I didn't know if Easton was going to go along with it, if this is what he wanted. But it just seemed to me, when you keep a guy for 4 years, you never play him. He's on your roster, but he basically never dressed. You obviously liked him, didn't want to get rid of him, but you kept Chase Daniel there for a while. So to me, it always seemed like, especially last year, they kept Chase Daniel, they kept Easton on the roster. Okay, why are you doing this if you have no intention of keeping him afterwards? And I thought this is what they would do. They get rid of Chase Daniel. You sign Easton to be your primary backup. They get him pretty cheap.
Yeah, I would say so.
Honestly, compared to you see some of these other backup quarterbacks in the deals that they're signing. I think Stidham from the Raiders just signed with the Broncos for like 2 years, $10 million. Now, I know Easton doesn't have a ton of playing experience, and that's probably why. I was a little surprised it wasn't a 2-year deal, maybe even a 3-year deal, 2-year, $5 million, something like that. But again, that's probably because he hasn't played a ton. But I think it's good for him. Obviously, it's what he wanted. Free agency hasn't even officially started yet, and he's already got this deal done. So this is what he wanted, and I'm happy for him.
Taylor Heineke gets 2 years, $20 from Atlanta. I mean, how about that guy?
You just got to play.
Right.
You just got to play. I've been saying this since I think Easton got drafted. If he can just play 4, 5, 6 games and win over half of them,
which he could do.
He could easily sign a deal like that next year, or 2 years down the road. I mean, it's such a funny business, the NFL. You prove it once or twice, and I always go back to, I know it was a lot of years ago, but Matt Flynn came in for the Packers in garbage games and threw for like 400 yards, and he signs this massive deal. Now, it didn't work out for him. He got benched for Russell Wilson, but he still signed like a $50 million deal for like 3 games that he played. It can happen, and that could easily happen for Easton.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up on there. I'm looking at a couple of the Raiders have added Jacoby Myers. I want to ask you about Jimmy G, though. What do you make of what Vegas did there and going to get Garoppolo?
I I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth. I mean, is he really an upgrade over Derek Carr? That's kind of where I go first. I don't think so.
I would say he's better than Carr. I think isn't he more, I can't say conservative, but he's better with the football than Carr.
But he's been winning in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Everyone wins in San Francisco. Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft, and I'm not trying to take away from his talent and his abilities, but he won in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan's arguably one of the best play callers, offensive minds in the game, and you have a phenomenal defense and running game. So I don't know. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Jimmy G, but he hasn't really proven it anywhere outside of San Francisco. Obviously, he was a backup in New England. But at the same time, the Raiders get a comparable quarterback to Derek Carr and for a lot less money. I mean, I know some people, I was talking to some people yesterday and like, well, he got like $62 million. I was like, that's nothing for a quarterback. I mean, it's basically a 1-year guarantee. I think 30 something million guaranteed. So after a year, they could get rid of him if it doesn't work out and go draft their future quarterback. So it's kind of interesting to me because I don't know if it's necessarily an upgrade. Now, there is some familiarity there with Josh McDaniels. He was there with him in New England, so it makes sense from that standpoint. But are you really getting a talent upgrade? Is this just kind of a 1-year rent a quarterback and we'll see how it goes? I don't know. But they get a guy that has some familiarity, has some talent, has won some games.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes for the Raiders.
Carr had 24 touchdowns, 14 picks last year in 15 games, and obviously he either benched himself or the Raiders benched him at the end of the season. Garoppolo, with his injury, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks in different offenses. Obviously, what McDaniels wants to do with the Raiders is much different than what Shanahan wants to do with the 49ers. That's why I thought Garoppolo would be perfect for the Jets. Just stay in the game, hit the tight end.
I think he would be.
Hit the wide receiver when you can.
Brees Hall hopefully comes back healthy. You got a good running game. You got a good defense. Take care of the ball. As you mentioned, stay healthy, which hasn't been his forte. But
it is not.
If he could, I think, and they would have probably got him. Obviously, they would have got him for a lot less than they would get for Aaron Rodgers, and he could have been there for 5, 6, 7 years.
The Vikings moved on from Adam Thielen. Not really surprised about that with the amount of money that he was going to make.
And I think he even said it. If he was going to stay, he would have to be restructured.
Yeah.
And I think they were close, if I'm not mistaken. They were close to the cap number, and they needed to clear some space. And they also released Eric Kendricks, who just signed with the Chargers. And it's weird because it's kind of a sad day, right? A guy from Detroit Lakes and grew up in Minnesota, a Vikings fan, and his whole story, he becomes a star in Minnesota. So it's kind of an end of an era there, but when you look at the business side of it, it was just something you feel like it kind of had to happen.
It's just it's amazing. Here we are we're on the eve of the NCAA basketball tournament, and yet again, like you and I have always talked about, what is dominating everything right now? It's the National Football League.
That's all they're talking about.
It really is. And when we're done with this, then we're headlong into the draft.
Free agency, OTAs,
and then the season starts.
Never ends. Yeah, never ends.
Let's take a break because we come back. We'll talk with Kyle about what he saw from what Cody did. Mauk at the NFL Combine, who's the star of that again. I guess we can't really be surprised about that. We'll do that on the other side of this break on Hot Mike on this Tuesday morning. Back after this. All right, back here with Kyle Emanuel on this Tuesday. We didn't get to chat last week after the NFL Combine wrapped up down in Sioux Falls at the Summit League basketball tournament, but I was watching. It's a life becoming watching offensive line drills at the Summit League basketball tournament, and to nobody's surprise, Cody was the TV star of that offensive lineman session. I'm just looking over his combine scores, and everybody's gonna immediately Kyle go to what he ran. How do you think he came out of what happened in Indianapolis?
I thought he came about what I expected.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah.
I knew, when we talked, it was 2 weeks ago, I thought he would do really well moving side to side, in which he did. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I think he was like top 5 or at least top 10 in the pro agility. And I think the L drill, the 40 was good. Again, I think the 40 is,
he ran
there's already,
faster in the second time. Is that common?
I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of depends on the person. I was always kind of better on the first one. I was the same way in track when I did long jump, but anyway, I digress. He was a star because of who he is as a person. The Napoleon Dynamite dance that came out and he was trending on Twitter. So I'm assuming he probably did a great job with all the interviews. I bet every team loved him,
knocked it out
as they should.
Yeah.
But then he also proved it on the field. And I just from watching him again and trying to confirm things, like watching him at NDSU, I thought he was great side to side pulling, getting to second level, and I think he proved that once again at the combine.
Yeah, watching these particular drills, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a great offensive line mind, but
I'm not either.
But the side to side stuff like this is where he's excelled at over the last couple of years.
Yeah, changing direction, and I think what it does, and again, it just seems like a broken record. Every NDSU offensive lineman is like this. He can play multiple positions because of their athleticism, their versatility, and I think he showed, yes, I can play tackle, but if you want me to move to guard, you want me to pull a little bit more, I can do a little bit of everything. And I've already seen him, I think, is it Mel Kiper, whoever, maybe NFL Network has him as like a top 5 tackle listed already. So the sky's the limit for him. I think he did what he needed to do. Now he can kind of relax. I'm not sure what he'll do at Pro Day, but I don't think he needs to do a ton. A couple more drills, a couple more interviews, and he's on the home stretch.
Vertical leap was 29 inches. I don't know if that's great for offensive linemen. What do you think?
I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
The bench, he had 29 reps. That's pretty good.
Solid, yeah.
Broad jump was 108 inches. 20-yard shuttle was 4.5. Three-cone was 7.3. For a man at 302 pounds, I think that's all right.
Exactly. I think, he showed his athleticism. Offensive lineman numbers are always going to, they're always a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
Can't compare him to like a linebacker, a DB, wide receiver. But you're going to look at, they'll look at his 10-yard split. They'll look at the stuff he did side to side and his agility. You don't really care how fast an offensive lineman can run a 40-yard dash. At least I don't think you should.
Yeah.
The 10-yard split is what maybe something you want to look at. But I think he knocked it out of the park. I really do. And just looking at some of his numbers and comparing him to some of the other guys that were at the combine, that combined with what he did at the Senior Bowl.
2 big check marks, right, man?
Yeah, exactly. Once again, said the same thing with Christian Watson a year ago, and here Cody Mauch's doing the same thing again.
I'm going to ask you to guess. What would you imagine, if anything, he does at Pro Day here in a couple weeks?
I don't know if there's anything he didn't do in terms of drills at the combine. So I don't think he's going to. 29 is pretty good. I don't think he'd bench again. I think he's going to be happy with his 40. I think he's going to be happy with most of his numbers. Now, only he can answer that. Him and his agent will probably talk about that. Probably do similar to what I did and just do the drills. He'll do the O-line drills at the end after everyone's gone through all their testing and things like that, and talk to a couple teams. And
we saw Cordell do that. And granted, they were in similar spots, but I think obviously Cody's projection was higher where Cordell ended up going. But we saw what Christian did. I mean, he went and did the whole, and he had done everything at the combine. He still went out there and did most all of the drills, if I remember right, when he did Pro Day last year.
Yeah, most guys will do all the position drills. Just to, once again, I think it's more so just you're not doing nothing.
Right.
You're not showing up and just standing there. You want to do something, but if you're happy with your numbers, there's no reason to put out a different, even though they're going to technically, they'll take your best number in the 40 and things like that. There's no reason to put out a worse number if you're happy with them. And that's why when I was going through the process, I was happy with it. I didn't want to go out and run a 4.9, and now people are like, well,
right,
4.7?
Exactly, right.
Was that a fluke?
Right.
So if you're happy with your numbers, you just leave them. You go out, do a couple more drills, show them that you can move around. If you're like me, you do a fullback drill just because they ask.
Because they asked, right.
I don't think they'll be asking Cody to do anything like that, but just to move around one more time and get in front of those scouts.
Noah Gindorf did do the bench, did 16 reps on the bench at the combine. That was pretty much, he said, that was the only thing he was going to be able to do. I'm not sure how much more he'll be able to do at Pro Day. Lipke told the media that he'll be able to do some stuff at Pro Day, which I thought was interesting because that's even earlier than the timeline he told me, because he thought, I want to have a later one right before the draft to show, as did Gindorf. I'll be intrigued to see what he'll be able to do, if anything, in 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah. He's a shoulder injury. I'm going to assume he's not going to do bench.
Right.
That's the one that is the biggest stressor on your shoulder. But if he can
how much running can you do though, Kyle? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know. Yeah. I've never had that shoulder injury that he's dealing with. Maybe you can run a 40, or maybe some of the shorter stuff where you're not getting out into a long stride. But I think just a little bit of anything just to show that, okay, I'm progressing with my rehab. I'm on the right track is what these teams are. These NFL teams are going to want to see.
I'm interested in this, and forgive me if I've asked you this before. How much do you think that the scouts and then the eventual GMs looked at your game tape in evaluating the whole process. Okay, and that's my thing on Lipke. You know,
I'm guessing a little bit, but I know like that's when I went to. I believe it was at the combine, and I had a formal interview. Like they had my tape pulled up, and there was a couple teams. Okay, now just talk me through your responsibilities here. What was this play call, if you can remember, and then what was your job on this? Just to kind of talk through things like that. That's to me, and again, I could be wrong here, but like that should be number one.
Theoretically, that's what I would think too.
That's you actually playing football. This other, and that's why the criticism has come with the combine. They're running around in their shorts and no pads, and it's more. And I say this all the time. It's more to confirm or to just see, like, okay, why did this happen? We thought this guy was a 4.5 guy, and you ran a 4.9. Like, what happened there? You know, if there's certain things that jump off the page of you, that's what I think the combine is for. But you got to evaluate these people playing the sport that they're going to play, that you're drafting them to play. And Lipke has some really good tape out there. So.
I mean, great. I mean, it's about as good as you can get for that position. He's still number one in the fullback position.
I don't think him, if he's not able to do certain drills, I don't see that. It might drop him a little bit, but I don't see it like completely knocking him off people's boards. They're more going to be concerned with his health and moving forward with that.
I was interested on this. I'll let you go on this. That there were, I think, 3 or 4 coaches that didn't even go. Belichick didn't go. Shanahan wasn't there. There's at least one other I can remember, maybe McDaniels. How big a deal is that for the NFL? This is their crown jewel now to start the offseason of we put the combine in prime time. If Belichick's not there, who is the lead dog, and Shanahan, who's one of the rising stars, that's not great. That's not a good look for the NFL.
It's not, and maybe coaches have a different opinion about the combine.
Yeah.
Maybe they're starting to trend more. Maybe that's where this talk has come from, where they're like, we don't put as much stock into this.
Especially if guys aren't throwing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bryce Young didn't throw. I mean, what are we doing if we're not going to do that there?
Some of those exactly. Some of those top guys, I think they kind of look at it as like, I'm already projected a top 5 pick. Like, why would I go out and make things worse? All I can do is, again, confirm what they believe. But if I don't do anything, are they just going to not draft me? Am I going to drop out of the first round because I didn't do anything? They're going to just disregard all of this tape that they already have of me. And so that I don't know if it's a trend or not, but you've seen some of these top guys just be like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'll go weigh in. I'll do the medical. I'll do some interviews. But outside of that, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where this goes from here. Great stuff as always, man. Thanks for coming by. We'll do this again next week. Kyle Emanuel joining us here. Of course, our NDSU analyst on football and joining us throughout the year on Tuesdays on Hot Mic. We'll take a break. We come back. The Class B basketball tournament set to tip off Thursday. The 2019 champs are back in Thompson. We'll visit with the Tommies. We come back on Hot Mic right after this. Welcome back, everybody, here on this Tuesday morning. Hot Mic rolls on, WDAY Extra. Busy show here today. Dave Richmond going to make his final regular season appearance on our show tomorrow, because in 2 weeks' time at 10 o'clock, we're bumping Dave out. Dick Bramer will join us, voice of the Minnesota Twins, as we get set for the 2023 baseball season. The Twins are actually on TV today, which, when you look at the weather outside, it's all right to go watch some baseball down in Florida. It's also okay to watch some Class B hoops beginning on Thursday on WDAY, as the Class B will tip off in Bismarck for the first time in 4 years. The Thompson Tommies will be part of it. Last time they were there, they won the whole thing in 2019 when they beat Shiloh. It's great to welcome back to our show Thompson boys head coach Brandy George with us here. Congratulations on making it back. I will ask you, though, I know it's been 4 years, but is there still a day that goes by that you don't get asked about that night in Minot?
No, that was a special year for us, a special night. And I think if you look at that state tournament, winning 2 of those games in overtime, there was a lot of nerves that were tested over the course of that weekend, especially that semifinal and championship night. But what a time for our community, for our kids, for our program. It was one of those weekends that really you dream of, and one of those to go out there and it'd be the first year you go and then to win it was pretty special, pretty magical, I guess, if you will. And that's kind of cliche, but I guess it is. And that's we get asked about it a lot, but that's what it's all about. That's Class B basketball.
Well, my favorite part of that still is the shot we had. You had your hands on your head like you couldn't believe it. Like it just like it was that really going through your mind when the game was done?
Yeah. Dom, when you get into this profession, I guess there's things that are on your bucket list. You know, you hope at some point in your career you get a chance to go play the state tournament, and we were there. And then you really hope at some point, by a long shot, you end up having an opportunity to win a state tournament, win a state championship. And so, at that moment in time, I was in shock a little bit. Not because I didn't think we could do it, but it was kind of the culmination of hours and hours that those kids had put in, and the blood, sweat, and tears, and to see it all come to life was pretty special. So it took a while to sink in, but what a night.
Now you're back. Tell me about this team. What makes this 2023 team special?
It's somebody asked me yesterday, what are the similarities between the two? And we don't like to compare them a whole lot. Obviously, it's a different team. They're both very athletic. This group is young. When you look at our top 8 that we play 2 juniors, and the rest, there's 6 sophomores. And so it's a pretty young group of kids. They played a lot of basketball to this point. So we're excited about our opportunity. Like I said, the last 2 weeks of the regular season, we had some ups and downs. There was our roller coaster went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. And we had a lot of heart-to-heart talks, but I give these guys credit. They really went into that regional tournament focused and put 3 games together. And here we are, a chance to play at the B. So it's a special group. They're young, they're intense. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us, but I think that's what you deal with young guys, and they're a talented group. So we just have to go out and take it a game at a time and soak it all in. That's kind of what we've tried to tell them over the course of the last few days is don't take this for granted. Don't worry about the end result. Don't worry about trying to get to that last game on Saturday night. Worry about the first game on Thursday night. And that's the most important thing, I think, for us right now.
We were visiting off air, and I was talking about this with Lynette Johnson last week, that region championship night is the night of nerves. That's the night. That's the night to get you there. So tell me about that Thursday night. You've been there before. This team hadn't, of dealing with that before the game, knowing against a really good Grafton team who had been there, that it was going to be a nail-biter to the end.
Well, I think, you hit the nail on the head. When you think of region championships and you think of the pressure to get out of the region, and Region 2 is always perennially it's been very good.
Yep.
And so for us, the pressure to get out, and in this group of kids, I think to a certain extent they've been expected to get out of the region at some point here. So for them to actually get over the hump and get through that region and was pretty special. And I think the biggest thing that we told them going into that championship night is you've played 20, 22, 23 other games like this. Don't make this game bigger than it is. I know that's really difficult for people to understand, but don't let it change who they were as people and players, and you had to go out and play your game. And I thought our kids did a wonderful job, and Grafton is a quality basketball team and well coached, ton of respect for them. But you're right, to get out of the region, I think, the coaches, we told them the other day too, I think after that game, you could almost sense a weight lifted off everybody's shoulders. And people might not understand that, but it's a weight lifted off your shoulders. And we had a long week last week. I spent a few days in the wife with my wife in the hospital, and some things were going on. So it was an emotional week for everybody. And man, I'll tell you what, after that buzzer went off Thursday night, like I told the kids, I didn't know if I wanted to cry or throw up or what I wanted to do. Like, I'm an emotional person the way it is, and I wear it on my sleeve. And man, I was happy for those kids and for our program in general.
I saw a post on Facebook of your son Cooper running out on the floor after the game. What was that like? Tell me about that.
Oh, man. Now you're going to make me. Cooper's here with us right now. And to have, to have him there and to have my daughter Kenley with us too, and my wife there, meant everything. And my dad will sit in the front row, and he's actually going with us on the bus.
Nice.
So he's with us on the bus, and he's with us the whole way. And, at the end of the day, Dom, that's kind of what it's all about, to have family. And we're a big family, so sorry about that.
No, that's perfect, man. One bit there. You got the 4 seed. You're going to get Delax Burlington. You got the late game. Any advantage, disadvantage? Not really a thing that you got to sit around and wait all day on Thursday.
We're going to try to break the day up as much as possible and get out there tomorrow night at a decent time and be able to get some food in their bellies and get a good night's rest and get up Thursday at a decent time. And yeah, I don't know if any advantage, disadvantage. I kind of like playing that last game. There's going to be a good crowd there. Sometimes I think for that first game of the day, people are still getting off work, if you will, and different things. So I think by that 8:15 game, there should be a good crowd at the Civic Center, and we're really excited about it. So whether you play the first, second, third, or fourth, you're there, right? And you've got that opportunity, and so that's excited about it. Delax is a good team. They're a skilled bunch. They got 2 or 3 guys that are really, really good, and they got guys around them that complement them very well. So we know that we're going to have our hands full. But I truly believe if our group of kids goes out and play loose, and if they play the way they're capable of and have fun more than anything, I really think the sky's the limit for this group.
I had Jeremy Brand on the show yesterday, Brandy, talking about the changes coming. Obviously, this is the last B as we know it. I have not talked to you since 3 classes has become a thing. I'm interested where you sit with this and going forward, knowing and telling your guys this is the last Class B as we know it.
Well, I think I think change was inevitable. I think it was coming no matter what, and that's something we talked to the boys about. Even going into the regional tournament, you're playing in the last true Region 2 tournament, which when you look over the course of many years, I've only been in Thompson 11 years now. It's a pretty special 3 nights at the Betty. And so to play and to win the last one and then to have a chance to go to State B, I don't know if the kids truly understand, and they will at some point in their life, how special the State B tournament is when you look at, in my mind, kind of the mecca of high school sports, taking nothing away from the other sports by any means. But to play in the last true State B tournament, as we know it right now, is going to be a pretty special weekend. So lots of changes coming next year, and so we're excited about those changes as well. But man, we are really excited about the B and about, it's something they can tell their kids years from now that they had a chance to go play in the State B tournament. You're one of 8 teams that gets to do it. And you're part of history. And I think and the biggest thing is we told the kids, don't take it for granted. You got to soak it all in. At some point, you got to stop. You have to maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just listen to the sounds and listen to what it's all about. I feel like back in 2019 when we went, it was so hectic that I don't think you really truly appreciate it until all is said and done. So that's my advice for this young group of guys, is to stop, take a breath, close your eyes, listen, soak it all in, and just enjoy the heck out of it.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you do that 4 years ago?
No, honestly, I didn't. I was so stinking tired by the time we got home Sunday. I don't think it was until that week and the following week after, when you sat down and watched some of the videos, watched some of the interviews, watched some of the side pieces that went on, where I was probably more emotional after that than I was actually that weekend, when you can sit down and kind of soak it all in and understand that you're part of history. And for our community, for our school, I think the thing that we've tried to get across to these kids, this going to a State B tournament, winning the region tournament, isn't just for us. It's for all the people, all the guys that have ever wore a Thompson jersey. And I think that's the biggest thing that we want them to understand. This is for people this year, last year, the year before, 20 years ago, and for people in the future too, to set that standard. And I think you got to play for that name on the front of your jersey. And that's what's most important too.
And now you're part of a reunion team, man. They're going to call you back in 25 years to come back.
Yeah, I'll probably, that's what's exciting too. So that's what's exciting. I hope, I can't wait to have that opportunity, and that's a ways away, but yeah, what a special time. What a special moment for our program, our community, our kids, our school. It's been a great week.
It's great to see you, man. I'm so excited for your team to get back out there. Have a safe trip out, and good luck on Thursday night, all right?
All right, thanks, Dom. Hey, by the way, was it your birthday yesterday?
It was my birthday yesterday, yes.
Well, happy belated birthday. If you want me to sing, I can, but that might turn some viewers off, so we'll just hold that off for right now.
I appreciate it, man. Great to see you, and good luck this week, okay?
All right, thanks, Dom.
There he goes, Brandy George, Thompson boys basketball coach. The Tommies will match up with the Lakers from Delax Burlington. That's the final game of the day at the Bismarck Event Center, about 8:15. You'll see all the quarterfinals live on WDAY. You'll see the consolation games. We'll stream them on Sports Plus. The semifinals on Friday night. And, of course, Championship Saturday begins at 6 in the final edition of the B as we know it. We're due for a break. We come back. We got some breaking news out of UND men's basketball. We'll share with you that. And we'll wrap up the show right after this on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. Okay, what a show here today. We're packed. Be another packed show coming up tomorrow to get us on the eve of the State B. We mentioned we'll have Dave Richmond join us. I'm sure we're going to have some NFL chatter tomorrow as well, whatever as the Vikings do, the Packers do, the Jets do. Apparently the Jets also are in on Randall Cobb as well. Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. Can we go get Jordy Nelson? Will that bring Aaron to us? Come on. Anything else they want to do? My goodness. We mentioned we had some breaking news. We were talking about UND men's basketball at Coach Paul Sather. Mike McFeely and I were earlier in the show. Thanks, boys. He has signed a contract extension, has Sather, through the 2025-26 season. He just wrapped up his 4th year. His contract was actually up. Wanted to know what was going to happen there. And he has been signed now through 2025-26. So another 3 years added on here to his deal. UND finished the season really strongly. They actually won a game of the Summit League tournament. They beat they beat, who they beat now? Kansas City? I can't remember who they beat now in the first round of the tournament. I think it was Kansas City. To get to the quarterfinal round before they lost to Oral Roberts. And retention has been the name of the game with Sather's team. 2 years running, they lost the freshman of the year, Tyree Iannaccio, in 2021. Last year was Paul Bruns. There's a lot of talk on B.J. Omont, the standout from Mankato, about his potential to go into the portal. Sather got noticeably teary at a press conference after the game with Oral Roberts. Mike asked him a question about the foundation of this team, and he got emotional, saying that he really hopes to coach this team next year. When he said this team, I think in quotation marks around that, about this team, about not having anybody leaving, because there's rumors of B.J. Omont, rumors of Trayson Eaglestaff, the standout freshman from Bismarck, potentially heading into the portal. That's why this is such a critical week. Caleb Nero, one of Sather's players, has already went into the portal yesterday, and you just you got to cross your fingers and hold on tight. That's basically where we're at this week, especially with the portal opening up. But Sather gets a contract extension at UND. We'll have more on that coming up on our Sports Tonight at 6 and 10. Let's get you ready for what to watch before we get out of here on this Tuesday. Good sports lineup tonight. The NCAA basketball tournament begins. The first 4. This is your reintroduction to True TV tonight, folks. We have it for the next 5 days, to find out where it is on your channel lineup. For you DirecTV people, I think it's 246. But we got Southeast Missouri State and Texas A&M Corpus Christi in the first game at 5:40, and then Pitt and Mississippi State in the second game at about 8:10. That's the lineup tonight. The Twins are coming up at noon from Fort Myers. They take on the Pirates. It's a split squad game. But with the Twins being home, they're going to have a majority of their regulars in the lineup today. That's on Bally Sports North at noon. And the Bison baseball team, struggling, 1-14, hasn't been good, but they play Texas tonight and tomorrow. That's as in the University of, as in the Longhorns. 6:30 tonight on the Longhorn Network. You get that if you have ESPN or the Watch ESPN app. You can watch the game tonight between Texas and NDSU as they'll play tonight and tomorrow. So be a big task there for Tyler Oaks' team over the next big 2 days, but this is something they welcome. They want to play a tough schedule to get them ready for the Summit League, and they have played a tough one. There's no doubt about that so far this season. So that's coming up tonight. We'll have highlights of that in our news as well tonight at 10 o'clock on WDAY. Good show today. Appreciate our guests coming by. To TJ Super, we appreciate him. Mike McFeely, Kyle Emanuel, and to Brandy George. If you missed any of our show, we podcast each and every one of them. You can find it at InForum.com later today. Get out there and enjoy the nice weather while we have it. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, everybody. Another busy sports day on tap. We'll do it all over again tomorrow on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.